Good morning, everyone. I'm going to keep this part very short and just turn it over to Jon quickly. But I did want to say, just underline a couple of things. First of all, Jon Kongo Aharoni and I are Dharma brothers. I believe we took Jakai at the same time. Is that right, Jon?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
So we've been in this game a while together. The other two things I wanted to mention just in opening is that we often talk about the Eightfold Path, and in the Eightfold Path are, right action, right thought, speech, intention, and livelihood. And we talk about that a lot in shorthand by how does your practice show up in your life? How does your practice show up in the world? I think today's talk might provide some clues or answers to that question, at least for one of us. And then the other thing that occurred to me as I was sitting today is that often in the in koan study and in all of the Zen cases in history, they talk about dying or the ability to uh, give life or take life away, and that our practice is one of killing off, a sense of self or of dying and discovering something on the other side. And Jon's life and tale and his death certainly relate directly to that. I think without saying anything too much more, I will just turn it over to you, Jon, and let you go. You're already co-host, and we're already recording, so we should be ready to go.
It's always hard to follow an act like that, but I guess I'll give it a try. Thank you, everyone, for taking this time out of your Sunday, and I really appreciate it. I did give a Dharma talk when Dan and I passed Jukai once before at the Santa Monica Zen Center, but that center doesn't exist anymore. So hopefully this goes a little bit better than that one did, and I guess we can find out whether it was my fault or not. Um, I don't know who was here last week, but you got a little snapshot of me last week. And, that was me after dragging my face on the, hi, Lori, on the road for a little while. And I want to get to that place. But first, I wanted to give you a little bit of my background and my history because this is a Meet the Sangha Dharma talk. So I'm going to see if this presentation will pop up. Bless you. And let's see how this goes. So last week I came in and I was in a pretty interesting place, and we'll get there. And I was thinking about this talk, and this talk brought me to this quote. If you want a happy ending, that depends, of course, on where you stop your story. And you know, last week was probably not a good place to stop my story if I was looking for a happy ending. And I'm going to come back to this quote in a bit, but um, the story that I want to start with is the one that Dan was referring to. And I gave a presentation about that to the Society for Simulation in Healthcare um, about 5 years ago. I'm going to play that for you really quick. It's only 4 minutes, so bear with me on that one. And then I'm going to take you for a little walk down what I'm doing and how it works. And then we'll get back to last week. So here's the presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jon Aharoni, and I'm going to speak to you about how dying saved my life. I was Indiana Jones. I was looking for my next Temple of Doom, and as an actor and a volleyball player, I traveled the entire world looking for the new, sparkly, better, different, shining example of what my life would become. But something wasn't right. Something was missing, and every new adventure brought me back to my crappy apartment with the 4 other guys I was sharing it with, and my girlfriend was awesome, but maybe I should just head back to Hawaii where I was born and raised. I needed something. I needed a change. And I got it. I died.
It was a normal day. The night before, I went out for dinner and a movie. And I saw that movie, Music and Lyrics, with Hugh Grant. And ironically, the title song was My Heart Skipped a Beat. And that should have tipped me off that something was about to happen. I was playing a volleyball match the next morning, the same way I had 1,000 times before. It wasn't hot. It wasn't cold. I was winning, as usual. And I looked at my volleyball partner and I said to him, something's not right. I don't feel good. And about 10 seconds later, I fell into the sand, eyes wide open, face first. They started chest compressions and continued CPR until the paramedics came and defibrillated me and took me to the hospital, which this is the change I got, but that's definitely not the change I was looking for. Be careful what you ask for. Lesson number 1 for me is be careful if you're applying CPR. I was told that after 3 minutes, the victim is guaranteed brain damage. After 7 minutes, they're not coming back, and if they do, their life will never be the same based on the damage that was caused. I was down for 10 minutes, and according to my sister, we'll never know if actual brain damage occurred because I'd have to start using my brain first. But seriously, please continue CPR if you ever have the opportunity until the response team comes. I may be an exception to the rule, but thank God I'm still here. There was a book that I read when I was a kid called Fortunately, Unfortunately, and my experience in the ER was a lot like it. Fortunately, I was going to see Grandma, and she always had ice cream and cake. Unfortunately, a dark cloud appeared, and it started pouring rain. Must have been an El Nino year. Fortunately, I was returning Granny's umbrella to her, and I stayed dry. Unfortunately, those clouds were so distracting that I fell off a cliff. Fortunately, there was a body of water under me. Unfortunately, there was a hungry whale in that water, and the rest is sort of history. At the hospital. Fortunately, it was a beautiful, sunny Southern California day. Unfortunately, and I was playing volleyball, of course. Unfortunately, I suffered from full cardiac arrest outside the hospital. Fortunately, I beat the odds and I survived. Unfortunately, my brain turned into mush, and it was on a short-term memory 24-second reset. It was a little like Memento. I could meet everyone again and again after every 20 seconds. Fortunately, that memory reset only lasted for 3 days. Unfortunately, when I came out of it, I had been given a positive urine screening for cocaine. They were going to transport me to what my family calls the druggie ward. Guys, me. If there was cocaine in wheatgrass, there's a pretty good chance that I had it in my body, but other than that, I'd never seen it except for Scarface. At that ward, they were going to give me a stress test, put me in an unmonitored bed, and send me home the next morning. Definitely not the optimal situation to survive what I did. Which brings me to lesson number 2. Always, always have someone advocate for you who loves you at the hospital. Thanks to remember that girl in the beginning that I was getting away from? She stuck by me for 3 days, never left my side. Thanks to her and a few other guardian angels, I was transferred to a different hospital. They redid that drug test, and guess what? No evidence of cocaine in the first one or the second one that they took. I got a new team of cardiologists and the best care possible, and it prepared me for my new life. What, you ask, is part of that new life? It was scary to come back from something like that, and thank God for that team of doctors and supporters. But at the same time, that fear gave me something profoundly grateful for absolutely everything. I mean, I would go to bed at night and pray that it wouldn't leave because I could see the leaves moving in the trees. I could see the crest of the wave. I would walk into the soup aisle at the supermarket and just be so happy that I could pick alphabet noodles or stars or whatever it was. It was the most amazing thing, and I never wanted it to go away. But it did. And you know how I knew it did? Because when I got on the 405 and that jerk in the BMW, you know the one, cut me off, instead of giving him one finger, I probably gave him 2, and if I had a third, I might have even given him that. But something didn't change. That thing that didn't change is that I didn't need new, better, and different anymore. I was able to look at what was right in front of me. Remember that girl from the hospital that we talked about a couple times? That's her in the middle there. We got married. And those are our kids, and we have a fantastic family. And today I work for USA Beach Volleyball, and I coach the under-19 youth players to fulfill their dreams and chase after what matters to them. It's great not having to chase after these new, better things. And now I can focus on a different temple, the one that's mine, and it's not a temple of doom. Thank you so much.
That was a talk, that was a big period. And ironically, my 13, might have been 14, someone corrected me on Facebook, year anniversary of that full cardiac arrest was 2 days ago. So, it's nice to revisit that every year and just have people chime in on the memories they have of that time. And it really set me off into the world of volleyball. I launched into all of these fancy things that if you're a volleyball nerd, each one of them is a monumental achievement that's so, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. And then I jumped into this sitting volleyball thing. And sitting volleyball isn't in the spotlight. Not many people have heard of it. Not many people know that it exists, even though we were the defending gold medalists from Rio. And there's a gentleman in that picture who invited me to give it a try. And I thought he meant come to a camp and check it out. What he actually meant was come for 4 years and ride with us through the Tokyo gold medal. And that's a big commitment that I didn't really know I was getting into completely, but I was jazzed on it. And I couldn't believe that I was being given that opportunity. And I so quickly fell in love with this new, exciting version of my sport. Here's just some photos of a new warm-up I invented on the bottom right with the team. And that's Laura Webster. Gosh, she's been on the team so long that someday maybe I'll bring her in. She could give another talk. And actually the girl in the top right, Nikki, will be here in a few weeks to train for Parabeach, but that's a whole nother thing that's coming. I wanted to give you an opportunity to see what sitting volleyball looked like. This is the able-bodied and adaptive disabled people playing together in the national championship. And by the way, I did get the game-winning block here, but just take a look. We have 3 Paralympians on the court on both sides and 2 actual Olympic volleyball players. So there's a good mix of able-bodied and disabled people. So a pretty different thing and a different sport, and everything was hard and new about it. And I loved it. I mean, most of my buddies said, Jon, you're the king of beach volleyball. You get that game. That is your comfort zone, but this is your growth. This is where you're cutting your teeth and you're uncomfortable. And I mean, it's a whole nother talk, but going into the adaptive world, yes, I had full cardiac arrest, but that's not the same thing. I never known anyone who was missing a limb or had a neurological disorder that classified them for these things. But I learned because I love the game and I'm a commitment to making the players and the sport as good as I can possibly make it. And I started some local groups in San Diego. This was a tournament that the Challenge Athlete, the upper left, Challenge Athlete Foundation and I put together, and we had some regular practices, and I did something at a local volleyball club, and then I ran into para beach volleyball, and ooh baby, like this was my wheelhouse and my pruning at the same time, and it was spectacular. We had our first camp. This is a picture of our first camp. And I got some reactions from the players. And if you can't hear this one, it's about 2 minutes. This was these players' first time playing adaptive volleyball together with other adaptive players for the most part. And yeah, let me just play this for you because I think it puts a lot of context around what we were doing. And by the way, going into this camp, going into this talk, going into anything, I get nervous as heck. I mean, I don't understand. What if they fall and break their head? This was horribly terrifying. What if I break their, $18,000 prosthetic? What if this was exciting. So this is the reaction after the first 4-day camp in the history of parabeach volleyball.
And action.
Oh, hi, my name is Meredith Gross. I am missing my left hand. About there.
I'm sorry, this is
But you still have more fingers than Dane, so it's okay.
I beat you. And my favorite memory from the camp is just being able to all come together at the end of the day.
I'm Maddie. I was born without my right arm, below elbow. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Troy Banish. I'm a bilateral below the knee amputee. Several fun moments in camp, but the most memorable is forgetting that I wear prostheses to play in the sand. Took off running, tripped over the line.
After you face planted, what did you do? Did you sit out the rest of the practice?
Jump up and keep on.
Like beach, it's like just a laid back and like supportive environment. Like
How did it feel mixing in with able-bodied? Wasn't Mary able-bodied?
Yeah, she was.
And then when I played, did you feel was it weird or anything?
No.
It was, I liked it when
You liked what?
I liked it when you played.
Yeah.
I felt equal to everybody.
Show up at any park that has a beach court, and you can go out there, and there's hesitation because it's, can I do this? Can I move? And you don't know until you get out there. Then you're out there, you get that smile on your face, you run, you fall in the sand, and you're having a blast.
It's just like a lot of fun because at the end of the day, you're in the sand and you're in the sun, and so like no matter if it's a good day for you, a bad day for you, like it's still you're outside, and the weather's great even in Oklahoma, which shocked me. But I don't know. I just love watching everyone try to figure out like their thing. Like for me, up until last August, I didn't know how to handset for my life because everyone said, no, you can't do that. And now like everyone's telling you, no, you have to do that. You have no excuses anymore.
This was my favorite quote from the camp. I can't not share it. You're working with para athletes when you have to turn the car around because someone forgot their arm. Yes, parents, they would forget it if it wasn't attached. Which brings us to the parents. And, I've always been guilty of, an up when the squirrel goes by. Squirrel! But I can't not tell these stories. Don't worry, it's not the parents in this picture. This is actually from a non-adaptive team that I coached. But we finished that camp, or we were in the middle of that camp that I was just referring to. And the team leader took the athletes to get changed and get ready. And I was hanging out with the parents at Buffalo Wild Wings or one of those places. And they started, they had a couple of cocktails and they started telling stories. And one of the parents talked about how, well, I guess the important thing is that these parents had never gotten together with other parents of adaptive volleyball players. And they'd never had the chance to just get that, and this is such a lame way of describing it, but get that institutional knowledge that provides the comfort and warmth that you need in order to have skillful means around being a parent of an adaptive athlete. And the first story was about a parent who pulled her kid out of 3 different schools because she was bullied and treated horribly. And now she's a starter on the varsity volleyball team as a 14-year-old or 15-year-old freshman. She has no arm below her elbow. And I introduced her to Carrie Walsh, the 3-time Olympic gold medalist. And she proceeded to tell Carrie how she hand sets every ball. And if you're a volleyball nerd like I am, you know that Carrie doesn't hand set because she's worried about getting called. But Sky with no arm was like, no, you have to do that. Yeah, my coach tells me, and I'm gonna. And now she plays setter on her team, and I was just, it's such a paradigm shift, and it's such a wonderful thing. And the second story was, and this one blows my mind and gets me a little. I can't believe it every time I hear it, but apparently this mom had a C-section, and she they gave her a bunch of drugs because apparently I'm a guy, I'll never understand this, and I don't pretend to, but if they were going to cut my stomach open and take something out of it, I would probably need about 10 times as many. But when they took the baby out and they saw that it didn't have a hand, the mom, in her drug-induced stupor, started cursing. And apparently she said, "No, you son of a gun, doctor." Not quite that way. You go back in there and you get that hand and you put it back on. This is your fault. And she had never told that story before. What an amazing, vulnerable place to share with people that went through the same thing. And since then, I've been, and I forget at times, we all do, when you're flipping the guy off in the BMW, but I've been committed to making those parents apart because, a lot of people are trying to help the athletes out, but it's like I learned it's the families of the alcoholics that need a lot of support as well. And I didn't realize that, but that was a huge paradigm shift for me as well. And it made me think about how I can weave that into the tapestry of my coaching. So we had some goals. We wanted to win a world championship at this tournament that was coming up, and we wanted to find a home for Parabeach, and it went pretty well. We won a silver with the women, and we won a gold medal with the men. And this is some pictures of those teams and us celebrating in China, and it was so exciting. Probably could do another couple hours on just that. And people noticed. The three-time gold medalist Carrie Walsh and her company put together a little promotional video for us and started helping us out a little bit. It's a quickie. I'm going to play it too.
P1440 is for everyone, and everyone should have the same chance to achieve greatness. There's an army of athletes ready to rise up and win. They just happen to have a physical disability. This isn't about making history. It's about changing it forever. In 2028, the Paralympic Games in LA could be the first ever to have beach volleyball. And together, with the strongest voices in the sport, we'll make it happen. Why? Because champions in our sport look like this, and this, and this. And when they have the same access to coaching, competition, and community, their potential is limitless. This is the future of our sport. You ready?
I get goosebumps every time I watch that. I so love it. All right, let's turn off screen share. Hang on, you might need to. Oh, look, kind of proficient. All right. So how did that freaking righteous dude, to quote Ferris Bueller, world championships, winning, kicking butt, accomplishing everything, turn into that blubbering idiot that you saw last week? What happened? And I've been reflecting on it quite a bit, and I think, and it's not fully fleshed out yet. As I was telling Dan earlier, I could probably use another month or two to like prepare for this, but it was it was time. He asked me and I wanted to do it now. So work with me on this one. Give me a little latitude. But I think what happened was that I became a victim of my commitment. I went into this team that I worship and I love what they've accomplished, and like what was there before I was there is nothing short of a miracle. And I like to do things a certain way, and I like to be acknowledged a certain way. And it didn't fit that. And I found that I committed, and I know that I have to stick with that commitment. And more energy was being put into, I was present. I didn't not come. Let me turn that off. I didn't not come to events. I committed to following this team through Tokyo and giving it my all. But somewhere along the way, I was more interested in thickening my skin and protecting who I thought I needed to be. And I lost touch with my initial commitment, which is to elevate the sport and the athletes as much as possible. And I'm owning that. And I need to I needed to shift that. And then COVID happened. And I was stuck in a house with my family. And it was wonderful. I mean, I don't, COVID's not wonderful. I wouldn't wish it on my enemy. But that reconnection with them was so special for me. And then I don't know how I started coming back to, I think Dan said, "Hey, can I throw you on this list?" And I don't know how I got back to sitting, because I hadn't done it for a while. And my reasoning in my head was that my volleyball is my practice and my yoga is my practice and my children are clearly my practice. Not my wife, she's perfect, of course. um, but I got back into it and I started sitting a little, and then I started book club. And Andrea, God bless you for that. It was so amazing to listen and talk. And sometimes I came in goofy and I was such an annoying distraction. And sometimes it was just, it was such a great ride. And then, you know, Dan challenged me to try a koan and I did. And now I'm kind of rolling through those again. And the practice came came back. The practice never left. It is where I need the latitude. It re-strengthened and reawoke a muscle in me that I think my thick skin was ignoring. And we gave up volleyball camps and things with the sitting team for a full year. And I have platinum mile status based only on that. I was gone for the entire month of May except for 5 days with these teams. And then all of a sudden, it halted. And then last week, I got the opportunity to go to a camp. Um, if it were only a COVID time, for a dad with two young kids to go to a camp is terrifying. It's, how can I risk it for this? Well, because I have a commitment, we've got our, protocols in place and it's going to be just fine. You don't have to worry, but you do worry. And then you throw a blizzard on top of that. And, John, can you rent a car, to help get through things? Usually they cut budget a little and they rent me the smallest car they can. And I'm from Hawaii. I see snow and I get goosebumps. Like, I don't know what 5 feet in an hour or a blizzard or whatever the heck it was, but this was a life-changing blizzard for people in Oklahoma as well as across the country. This was no joke. Those two things alone were more than enough to finish me off. And I pushed through those, but the real one was that commitment. And I pushed through those and I decided that I was not going to be a victim of my commitment, that I was going to be my original commitment. I was going to lift the sport and the athletes as best I could. I was gonna make myself, and I'm not perfect. I suck. Ask my wife and kids. I fail. I'm not, I'm not anything special. Anyone can be great if they put in the time and the work. But I was going to put my roller skates on, and I was going to be available and be present as closely as I could. And I was going to just get back to it and to who I was. And I made it. I flew through, my flight was rerouted 3 times. I ended up going to Chicago to get to Oklahoma to get to, oh man. And my favorite sandwich shop, because every talk I ever give has food in it, except that one you saw. But my favorite sandwich shop is in Chicago. It's they make Mexican sandwiches. So, I was like, oh yes, I get to have my favorite sandwich. And if I get stuck there, I'll just buy 3 of them and everything's fine. Get to Chicago, I go to the sandwich shop, I sprint across because I don't have much time, and they're closed. So I think I sent my wife a thing about, is there no end to my suffering? And, eventually I made it to Oklahoma and I get to camp and I bust my butt. I grind. I get, yeah. Can I help you? What can I do? What can I do? And there were so many moments of connection. And I haven't seen these girls in a year. And it was, everyone's a little different. And people were healed, and some people hadn't played in a while. But it was amazing. But it was hard. It was really, really hard to stay present. And there were moments when I didn't feel respected, and I didn't feel heard, and I didn't feel understood. And thanks to you guys and the space that you hold here, and giving me the honor of being a part of this Sangha, allowed me to quiet my mind, so that when those thoughts of, how the hell do you talk that way to me? Do you know who I am? Come into my head, that I can realize that everyone's in pain and everyone's going through the same stuff, and just put my head down and get back, chop wood, carry water, whatever cliche you want to put on it. And the cool thing was, and this might be another talk, the person who I thought insulted me deeply saw my behavior of the weekend and circled back and gave me one of the sweetest compliments a player's ever given me. And I wasn't expecting it then, but God, maybe I was the one that was causing it. I mean, this could be a whole Landmark Forum part or something, but I guess the takeaway from that camp is that, as you saw, I was an emotional and physical wreck. I got home and slept I woke up, made breakfast for the kids, got them off to school, and went back to bed and slept till noon, and pretty much did the same thing the next day. I was done. I didn't have anything left. But I like that word, behold the underlying truth. And wherever we're going with this, I don't want to coach any other way. I don't want to be thick-skinned, a worthless victim that's sucking up the life out of other people. And I don't care if everyone around me is doing that. I am a stand for excellence. I want to bring people up, and I want to, and it's not the perfect place, and it's not it's maybe this isn't the right place. I don't know what is, and this is where Orson comes in. I don't know, these tears and that place you saw last week, that's not a happy ending. That sucked. It hurt. And yet that's not the end of the story. I love what I'm doing there, because it shows me how powerful I am and what I can accomplish. And, you know, Dan and I have been talking lately, and I feel like I'm needed in the sand. And Dan's like, that's a really good name. And I've come to the conclusion that I need to start a 501c3 to get me back in the sand, working with local athletes. And if they become, you know, those guys in the presentation holding the medals and rocking the world, great. But if they don't, that's great too. I had a kid who during COVID gained about 35 pounds. He's missing a leg, and his parents were going through some stuff, and he decided, you know, he just was bummed. He was on his couch playing video games and not doing real well. The other day, he came to practice, and he was the only one, because I'm running practices in San Diego. I didn't get to that, but there are a lot of pieces that aren't really here, and you know, forgive me, give me that latitude. So the other day he came to practice, but the court we were supposed to use was cutting trees above it, so we weren't allowed to use it. And he drives for 45 minutes to get to practice now. And the biggest problem he's had lately is his prosthetic leg doesn't fit anymore because and this is standing beach volleyball, it's not sitting. Because he lost so much weight and his residual limb no longer fits, so he gets blisters. But he got a new leg, and he lost all that weight. You know, he lost it, and he's kicking butt, and he's excited, and he's, you know, he got invited to another camp based on the work he's done with us. And so I said, you know, it's time for you to get out of the nest. It's time for you to go to Pacific Beach where there's 25 courts and walk up to every single court and say, hi, I want to play volleyball. Will you let me? And he did it. It was really, really brave, really brave. Because I got to tell you, butt heads on the beach in California with their muscle shirts can be really, really hard to break into that place. I know, you saw the pictures. I'm pretty much one of those guys. And when he left, me and another one of the butt heads kind of chuckled, and we said, on his best day, he probably won't get a game the first time, or the second time, or maybe even the third time. But if this is what he needs, though, and if he keeps this work up, he will get a game, and he will figure it out. And he is ready because we prepared him, and we've been working on that kid, you know, in practices and going after it. And, you know, we kind of laughed because even as an able-bodied person with a six-pack, I couldn't get a game my first damn day. I had to bring a book most of the time and sit on the side and wait till, you know, someone didn't show up and I could sneak in. And I left, and I was worried because I don't like to treat my little baby birds that way. But it was the right thing to do. And I got a text about 4.5 hours later. I should probably pull it up and read it, but it was something like, I'm on my 5th game. These guys invited me back to play 3 times a week. And my brother, who's 6'5" and playing, you know, in a junior college, is his buddies are on the court next to us. And I think I'm going to go over and check them out after this. My biggest problem is I didn't put enough sunblock on. I'll see you on Saturday for practice, coach.
All right, Jon.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So Jon,
So,
I want to make sure people have a chance to ask you any questions. Do you have a final wrapping?
This would be my final thing.
Okay,
We're like mind sync are similar. So, you know, I guess in closing, it's just about where are we going to end the story. There are some real depths, you know, happy day, bad day, good day, bad day. But as long as I have you guys and this practice and my ability to keep the story going until I choose to stop it is really it. So really in closing, I want to say thank you, Dan. And thank you everyone here on this call who shows up to make this space. You're the reason. So I appreciate you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jon. I'm just going to turn it over to the Sangha for questions. I know some people, may need to go near 11, but we'll go as long as anybody wants to ask any questions or give Jon any love that you feel appropriate. Over to you guys.
That's my bad. You put a microphone in front of me and let me talk about volleyball, and it actually, you know what? That's on you. That is on you. You guys should know by now that I ain't gonna stop. Probably could have done 4 hours.
So you can unmute yourself or raise your hand, and I'll well, I can't unmute you, so just go for it. I think we can self-manage. Art, go ahead.
Art, yeah.
Jon, good to hear from you. I was also in the same Jukai group you were in. It's good to see you continuing to do good things. Seriously. Of course, that's a long time ago.
Thanks, Art. It's good to see you. Man, we had some fun in that Jukai group. Thank you. Paul?
Hey, Jon, thanks so much for sharing that story. I didn't know anything about your wonderful history, and your quotation from Orson Welles reminds me of an Indian film. I think it's Hotel Marigold or something, where the lead guy says, it all works out in the end, and if it doesn't work out at the end, it's just because it's not the end yet. So again, thank you for sharing a very beautiful story. You had me weeping. Although like you, I'm weeping now all the time. So my wife is going through menopause, but there we go. Jon, just a quick, do you know, because I come from Southern California, by any chance, do you know John Herman, the coach?
No, where does he coach?
Oh, at my old school. I'll catch up with you another time about it.
All right, cool.
Thank you very much for sharing your story.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
I have a question. Hey, Jon.
Oh. Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
I missed your crying fest last week. I'm sorry I wasn't there.
I think it's on video. If you want to draw a mustache on me, and yeah, it was dang. I didn't plan for it to go that way, but I was a dribbling mess.
So a couple things. First of all, it's great to hear. Like, I know some of what you've experienced professionally, but I didn't realize kind of the extent of it. It's really nice to get a window into how you got sucked into this really transformational world of really transforming that sport of paravolleyball for people and giving those folks like a chance at actual greatness in sports, which I just think is probably the best thing about sports. I thought the cocaine, I thought you did do cocaine. And I was just like, whatever, he did cocaine. He's alive. Anyway, it's nice to get the full story. I don't know why I thought that. I had one other curiosity. I was just wondering, do you remember, I imagine you don't, but do you have any experience of what it was like for the 10 minutes that you were, dead?
You're going to have to buy my book, Jeff. It's $9.99. No, I'm kidding. Yoshin told me after that it's in, I don't remember anything, not a darn thing. I don't remember about 3 hours before it happened and about 3 or 4 days after. Like when my brain was resetting, it was, I had nothing. There is no memory of that time whatsoever. I think my first memory after it was my mom apparently you know, how a good Jewish mom comes in to take care of her baby. And, you know, the first hour or so, it was, oh, my baby. Oh, you were playing volleyball. Oh, it's so terrible. And then after it was like, shut up, shut up. I'm so sick of hearing that same, because I'd asked the same, what
Oh,
happened?
right.
Was I playing volleyball? And so my cousin rolled in and he made a sheet. And I would be like, what happened? Number 6, you suffered from full cardiac arrest. Where? Number 9, you were at the beach playing volleyball. That was my first memory. So yeah, I got nothing. Yoshin said that it's in your body somewhere. And don't be surprised if someday it rushes in. So yeah, that was the, and you know, Jeff, I don't know that I have much. You said the way that, or something along the lines of the way that I'm giving these guys a chance to do it. I'm really not. I'm really not. And maybe Dan alluded to this in the breakdown that he had that he wrote about, but I'm the best coach I can possibly be when they don't, when they can go to the beach and kick butt without me there. It's not me. I mean, yeah, I write up practice plans and yeah, I do things, but it's like Yoshi used to say, my goal is to be obsolete. My goal is for this to carry on without me having to do anything. And so I don't know, man. It's a tightrope, but I don't like people giving me the credit. Like when they do well, it's on them. When they do poorly, yeah, it's always my ass that gets chewed out. But it's just that's I don't that doesn't sound correct to me. It doesn't work for me.
That's what makes
And
you.
in terms of the cocaine thing, now I know why you called me up every Saturday night. You want to go hang out, yo.
No. But that's what makes you a good
Not
coach.
for either of us.
What you just said is, to me, what makes you a good coach. So that's awesome.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. It's
Yeah.
so good to see you and reconnect with you again.
Yeah, man.
Anyone else?
Galen, I thought I saw you move to the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, John, I just want to say, I just love your spirit and your commitment to excellence. And if you ever really want to expand your horizons and fire up a geriatric team, I'd be happy to play for you.
You know, Galen, be careful what you wish for, my friend, because I think the oldest person I've coached is 83, and you're far too. Most of the people that came in that were blown up, can't jump, can't do, can't this, get around the dudes with no, you know, you get around Troy, the bilateral amputee, and you don't have crap of it geriatric. You get your butt out there and you give it a try, man. But
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I like.
Yeah. Oh, you don't need geriatric. You're gonna play with the big boys. We'll find a way to get you in there. But in all reality, I have taught a few. I went into an old folks home. Not that you're there. I'm not saying that. And we put a string across the room and threw a balloon up, and it was awesome. Like you could see the competitive juices. You know, you get them fired up with the USA gear and come in and use all those dopey tools and tell a couple stories. And next thing you know, these old folks are smashing balloons at each other as hard as anything with no impact and no problem. And it's my sport reaching out to another group and including more people. I mean, for me, it's not about the stupid, in volleyball, we pass, we set, we hit, we serve. That's it. There's 4 things. But again, it's more about bringing good people to life. And that's why I keep coming back.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Thanks.
Galen, you have inspired me so much. To hear those words from you is, it really helps my pacemaker. So thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the space and time. And Dan, I was cursing you a few times this week when I realized how hard these things are and how much work it takes to put them together. And I don't think I did a tenth of what was needed to polish it up. But the journey and the investigation are it's what life's about. So I'm sorry for what I said, and thank you.
Jon, you've done beautifully. I see thumbs up. Winston, you came on camera. Did you want to add something, or you just saying hi?
You're muted.
Still can't hear you. Oh, there you go.
No, I never really met you before, Jon. I came in late, so I didn't get the whole talk, but I'm gonna try to listen to the talk once it's available online. But it's nice to meet you. Yeah.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you. If you want to throw eggs, I'll send you my address. You can come on down.
Perfect.
And by the way,
really?
By the way, everyone, the video was a tiny bit herky jerky on my side. When it gets posted, that'll be cleaned up. And if any of you want any copies of those videos, I'm sure Jon would share them, because there's that one moment where the athletes jump up, and a couple of those athletes are jumping up on one leg, which is hard to see in that little window. So. There's lots of good stuff in there. Bill wanted to welcome you to Sunday with us all, and Rich, it's great to have you back. Just as some side notes. Anybody else? Any thoughts, Melanie?
Jon, it's so good to hear the story. It's just really, really beautiful to hear your life story. And like everyone else here, your joy is so contagious and lovable and so powerful. And if that joy comes from your commitment, then just keep going. They just feed off of each other. And really appreciate you taking the time. And I was actually thinking about you when we were all sitting. I was like, I wonder if Jon's able to even sit right now, because he's probably thinking about the talk, thinking about giving the talk to us. That's like cycling around. The fear is here, the nerves are there. And so I was just feeling and thinking of you during that time. So I love you, man.
I love you too.
Glad you're still here.
mostly. Yeah, no, that back to the acting preparation. I mean, it's, and then I talked to Dan about this, but there was a Frank Zappa quote about how, it was back in the 70s, rock and rollers these days, they go out and they play the same canned garbage. When I go out there, I know my instrument, I know my chords, and I'm not afraid to fall on my face. And I was like, that's all I got. So it's my story. You guys can't tell it better than I can. So if anyone's going to get this sucker out there, it's probably going to be me. So I keep coming back to that, and that kind of gives me confidence, because, oh man, this stuff is scary. But thank you, Mel.
Laurie, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I love hearing from you, Jon. I love your energy so much, and your enthusiasm and the way you present so much information so well. And one thing that I really keyed on, my sister has two young boys who have they have some disabilities, and the piece that you brought up about how the parents just really need so much support. I got to tell you that that's so big in her life, is having the network that she has, and the kind of sharing that gives. It just makes all the difference in the world for her. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I mean, I'm really a commitment to the volleyball and the other stuff. When I come in to help the parents, I usually look like a not authentic jerk. I'm not. That's not my forte. If I get the volleyball going, the collateral good is that the parent, everything else falls in place. So usually I just bring in the right people for that kind of stuff.
Amazing. Well, great job. Thank you.
And thank you, Jon, and thank you for stepping up when I asked you to do this talk. Everybody, one reason we do this series occasionally of getting to know each other is because the practice is only as good as its practice out here. It's where the rubber meets the road. No amount of liturgy reading matters that much, right? It's like, how does your zazen, how does your practice translate with other people? How do you see it in the people around you? How does it show up? So, Jon, thank you so much for sharing. I think a great example of many years of commitment, both to your practice and volleyball, and most importantly, to all those people around you. It's the way we do it here. And, just all our love to you, Jon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.